Hello and welcome to another Matura Express English stream. My name is Chris and today we're gonna talk about traveling and tourism. As I've already mentioned in the introduction, today's topic is traveling and tourism, and here in the background you can already have a look at the oral exam, since it is oral exam night. And the first exam is gonna treat the topic of Austria and tourism. So, as always, the exam is structured is divided into an introduction, task 1 and task 2, and a follow-up discussion. As always, the introduction is basically about your future, about your past, present, and future plans, career choices, education, and so on. In the first exam, we will do so. In the second exam, we will skip the introduction. Task 1 in this case is about Tyrol as a tourist region. And remember that, or keep in mind that this is the monologue task, where you have to deliver your speech basically. And in this case, you're working at the Tyrol marketing company, so Tirol Werbung for all of you who don't know about it. And you have been asked to hold a presentation in front of the school, pupils, of course, about the different types of tourism. Then you're gonna mention those 3 bullet points: forms of tourism in Tyrol, benefits and drawbacks, and the future of tourism in Tyrol. All focusing on this specific region where we live in, most of us. Task 2, Austria and tourism. So with this task, there is an article text attached. In this case, 10 best places to visit in Austria. And we're gonna have a talk about this article and your own knowledge. Of course, you have to add in. Oh, I see a mistake here. Of course, it's not about mass media. It is about Austria and tourism. So let's. Austrian tourism, of course, that's all about the follow-up question. So, are you ready? Okay.
Are we both in the picture?
Yeah. It's better. Hello.
It's weird that I can't see myself. Anyway.
Okay, so
Hi.
would you start with introducing yourself?
Of course. So my name is Lisa. I actually come from Kitzbühel. I did an apprenticeship as a waitress, and I then have decided that I want to do the Matura and, well, see what opportunities I have afterwards. I have no concrete plans really, but I'm doing the Matura now. English is my first subject, so there's still a lot that I have to do. And then I will see where it leads me. There's some interesting things that you can study at the MT in terms of catering and tourism and stuff. So I think that's interesting. But so, still a long way to go.
Already future plans.
Sort of.
Nice. Okay. So we're gonna start with the first topic now, our first task, which is about Tyrol as a tourist region. Whenever you're ready, you can deliver your speech about those 3 bullet points.
Yes. Well, in this case, coming from a tourist area is useful because that gives me an introduction to the first point. I think the main form of tourism in Tyrol still is winter tourism, so we still have a lot of skiing tourism, obviously, and everything that is connected with skiing tourism. So that means all those après-ski party places that are connected to skiing. But I think that also summer tourism needs to be mentioned nowadays. Might have been different a couple of years ago. But we do get a lot of tourists for hiking as well. So I think because Tyrol offers a lot of hiking for all people, like all age groups and stuff. We have difficult stuff. We have easy mountains to climb. So I guess hiking is getting more and more popular as well. What else do we have? I think we do have an increasing number of people who come for wellness trips. I think most of, at least in the region that I come from, most of the hotels have some spa offers nowadays because obviously you can't do tourism without wellness and spa holidays. So I guess we are going in this direction as well.
Yeah.
Not so much swimming going on, I guess, apart from lakes like the Aachensee and so on. But I think that's not the main attraction kind of thing. I lived in Innsbruck for a while, so we also get city tourists who definitely come for day trips or 2 or 3 day trips, depending on what it is, coming to Innsbruck, looking at the sights of Innsbruck, going back on the bus and then going to, I don't know, Salzburg, wherever. So doing Austria in a couple of days, so bus tourism. We get a lot of Italians in winter who very much like our Christmas markets, so they would also be bus tourists, I suppose, who do Austria in a short time kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's the major forms of tourism that we have leading or in the lead. I think still skiing and different types of winter tourism. I think other things apart from skiing are very popular as well, like cross country and so on, but winter is still the most popular one. I think the benefits of tourism are, well, I think the major benefit is quite obvious. I think it's money. Tourism brings us a lot of money. That in turn is good for our infrastructure. I guess in the place that I come from, if it was only for the locals, we wouldn't have that many great ski lifts and cross-country slopes and so on and so forth. They are primarily done for tourists, or not primarily, but also. So it's money, infrastructure, jobs. It's always quite easy to find a job in Kitzbühel in winter. You can work as a waiter, waitress, you can go ski instructing, whatever. So we have a lot of jobs, which is good. We also get to know many people. I think that's one of the things about tourism that I personally like a lot. There might be different opinions on that. In terms of the drawbacks, I think many of the advantages are disadvantages as well, because all the employment that we get is seasonal. So if I take my region again, then there would be the unemployment rate, like people without jobs, would be higher in summer because all the, I don't know, ski instructors and people who work on the mountain in the huts and stuff, they would not have a job. So it's only always seasonal employment and they have to see what they do in summer. People are a good thing if they come, and if I like talking to people, and so if I meet them on the chairlift and stuff, I would always talk to them, and I like that. But there's a lot of people who don't, because they think that, especially from towns with a lot of winter tourism, they think that the foreigners are taking over and that they're causing a lot of trouble. Like, they are loud and they run around in town drunk after après ski and so on. So they're kind of a disturbance to the locals. What other drawbacks does it have? Well, I think skiing, especially if we talk about Tyrol, because that's the main tourism that we have. I think tourism can also be very bad for the environment if you have tourists who don't care about the environment and who throw their water bottles and their cigarettes and stuff off the lift. I see that very often. Don't know why people do that. So I think tourism also has an impact on nature, and I guess especially for us, like as we're talking about Tyrol, especially in winter, we also need to make room for all the ski lifts and stuff, so we have to cut down trees, and I guess that's for me one of the biggest drawbacks. Future of tourism in Tyrol is, well, quite hard to predict, I think, because there are a lot of people who say that in terms of winter tourism, we have reached the limits. We can't have anymore, be it in regions like the Tillerdal or in regions where I come from or in Ischgl and so on and so forth. So either the towns start or the ski places start to be a bit more careful about making new stuff, about expanding, and take care more about the environment, and it kind of stays at the same level, or they don't, and everything will become bigger and even more connected, and then even worse for the nature. But I think that people are also like not the people who make tourism, like not the bosses of the what are they called? Cable cars. But the tourists as such, they try to be a bit nicer to the environment and try to be good tourists. So I hope that reflects in the future as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you for your interesting monologue. We're gonna move on to our dialogue. I have just to make this a bit smaller here. So now we have talked about Tyrol as a tourist region, basically. What about Austria? So when you think, you mentioned skiing tourism, or that the skiing industry kind of in Tyrol is the biggest kind of part of tourism, of course. What about the cities in Austria in summer? What do you have you visited cities in Austria? Have you kind of experienced this kind of tourism?
Of course, when it comes to summer tourism, if we change the perspective a little bit, I think that especially Vienna and Salzburg are very popular just for the cities they are, I guess. Salzburg is just, there's a lot, well, I think they do a lot of good marketing and promoting themselves as a very cultural place, which it is, but with the whole Mozart thing and stuff, I guess they get a lot of, probably also tourists who only stay there for 1 or 2 days. We live in a very small country, so you can do many things at once, and if you are, I don't know, if you're American, you would probably try and see as many things as you can, because you might not come back so soon. So I guess Salzburg definitely has to be mentioned. Vienna, of course, also in summer, because I think they do a lot of things. I was in Vienna quite recently, and their program for tourists in summer is amazing. Also for the locals, but I guess it's like they can go as well. But I think it's mainly tourists that go. So yeah, definitely Salzburg and Vienna for city tourism. And judging by the many people that I always see when I'm there, they go there. They take advantage of what the two cities have to offer. I think Innsbruck is getting more popular in summer as well, but I still think it's a winter place, even though there's a lot of tourists running around and looking at the nice sights of Innsbruck as well. In the other Bundesländer, I'm not so sure about summer tourism. Carinthia probably, very beautiful in terms of lake and swimming and boating and so on and so forth. Maybe a bit the contrast to what Tyrol is in winter, they are in summer, so everybody goes there for swimming. I guess. So yeah, that would be my suggestions for a summer place. But yeah, city tourism and lake tourism, hiking as well.
Okay.
Salzburg.
Do you think that since tourism is one of the biggest incomes of the Austrian state, basically, do you think that, and of course, tourism is still it's getting bigger and bigger. There is more people coming actually every year. Apart from the benefits that you already outlined, what about the drawbacks that such a huge influx of tourists or people can cause? So, are there drawbacks or?
There definitely are. I think because you said the massive influx of people, so that implies many people in like a short period of time, basically. I don't know if it is so much of a problem in cities like Salzburg and Vienna. They are cities and they are equipped for a lot of people. So there's infrastructure and there's enough hotels and there's enough, like, nobody has to litter on the streets because there is just enough infrastructure to put your rubbish away. So I guess it might not be that much of a problem for the cities, apart from maybe the people who live in the city and have to deal with the overcrowded public transport and whatever. But I think that's less of a problem. But there are some places, for example, Hallstatt, that get an awful lot of tourists, and especially the locals are complaining that this is too much and that they don't want tourists running around all the time, and it has an influence on the quality of the life of the locals in smaller places because they're not equipped for that. So I guess that's a drawback, apart from the ones that I mentioned. Like, a lot of people cause a lot of traffic, they cause a lot of waste, they cause a lot of traffic jams as well. Talking about places like, well, standard example in terms of traffic, the Zillertal. I'm pretty sure it's also quite hard for the locals if they know that they have to go home from work and have to queue basically together with all the tourists. So yeah, that's what I think smaller places have more problems with tourism in general. I don't think that the cities are so much of an issue. Might be in other countries because, like Italy, for example, Venice and Rome and so on, but there the setting is different. So I think in Austria we can take them in cities and have to be careful in like where nature is, like, basically.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, let's have a look at the exam. As always, the introduction, of course, was fine. It's nothing special. We don't really have to talk about it. Just quick reminder. Keep in mind that you have to know or have to be able to use the tenses correctly. Speaking of all the tenses, so past and present and future, and of course all the tenses that are involved with those time frames. So introduction was fine. Task 1, that's the monologue, so it's only you speaking actually. Keep in mind that you have to touch upon those 3 bullet points, which in this case Lisa did. Forms of tourism, mentioned different forms. Benefits, what I really liked was that a very, not seldomly, but not very often used aspect when it comes to benefits of tourism in Tyrol, that you meet different people. Normally people are always talking about that there is too much tourism, too much people, blah blah blah. We all know the complaining manner of Austrians and Tyrolese. Drawbacks of tourism, of course, there is sometimes it can be a disturbance to the locals, which isn't actually caused by every tourist, but of course some of them can be. If there are a lot of people, then it can be a disturbance, and it can also lead to some sort of pollution of the environment. So, but that of course has something to do with the attitude and the appreciation of nature. But of course, when there are more people, things happen, and you have to manage different things with people throwing garbage or trash, plastic bags, and so on into nature. Yeah, that's an issue actually. So she did great on first task. Second task was also really interesting to talk with her. So the main goal is, as this is labeled as a dialogue, there are two people involved in this. So we had an interesting conversation, and when a fluid and vivid conversation is going on, then everything is fine. Of course, you should stay in the topic, and yeah, in this case, Lisa knew a lot of places and a lot of facts and a lot of things we can do in Vienna, Salzburg, and so on. Yeah, it was really interesting and vivid. And let's move on to the next exam. No. So we're gonna skip the introduction. It's always the same thing. In this case, we are now talking about trends in tourism. The task 1 is all about the types of tourism. So that's more a general view on tourism, not a specific country. So you know all the types of tourism. There's adventure and I don't know, sports tourism, and so on. That's what I'm aiming for in this exam. In this case, you're working at a local travel agency, and you have been asked to hold a presentation in front of your colleagues, which are the examiners, about the different types of tourism. Of course, at first you're gonna talk about the different types of tourism, the drawbacks and benefits, and pick only 2 of the different types. So normally there are drawbacks and benefits. Try to at least point a few of them out, drawbacks and benefits. And then of course future trends in tourism. Then task 2 is trends in tourism. Yeah, we're gonna talk about again recent trends, benefits, and drawbacks. And also maybe you can think about with this task, think about also the environment. That's always a good thing to do. Yeah, let's start with the first task.
It is really hot in here. Okay.
Okay. So, can you read?
Yep, all good.
Okay. So you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So the different types of tourism, I think the spectrum of what can be done in a job like ours in the travel agency is quite broad nowadays. So I'm gonna start with the more traditional forms of tourism, I guess. So we still have a lot of classic summer tourism, so people who want to go to some beach resorts for relaxation. A lot of them with their family, so I think these all-inclusive package trip kind of things still are very popular in terms of or with families.
Mm-hmm.
The all-inclusive thing is a good keyword, I think. I think that's what a lot of people like nowadays. It's one of those types of tourism where you don't have to think about a lot. So you get everything, you have everything. All those resorts are very well equipped. You can do sports, you can do whatever sort of entertainment you like, theater, shows, dancing, whatever people do in those places. But yeah, they offer a lot. So I think the all-inclusive beach trips are still there and still very popular. What is becoming more and more popular, I think, is sports tourism as well. So people deliberately going somewhere where they know that it's a good cycling area, for example. Like surprisingly, I was told in Mallorca, because we all know it as a party place, but the cycling there should be great.
Yeah.
Or is said to be great. So I think sports holidays are, or active holidays in general, doesn't have to be cycling, but we still have people who like beach holidays and shutting down for like 10 days, lying at the beach, not doing much. But I think because the lifestyle is changing in general, sports holidays are becoming more and more popular as well. So that would be a thing, I think. City trips, I think the trend in terms of holidays is going in the direction of not going for 14 days in a row anymore, but having some shorter breaks, and then cities lend themselves quite well, I think. So I think city trips are also very popular. You can do, especially when you decide to stay within Europe, a 3 or 4 days holiday shows you a lot of the country, and you still don't use up all the 5 weeks of holiday that you have, and can do more things. What else do we have? Cruises, I think they're also getting more and more popular, also with people who don't live by the sea and might not have that much connection. There's a lot of offers out there, also very, very long cruises, so where cruises that promise you seeing the world, basically, only that you spend a lot of time on the ship. So yeah, spa holidays, of course, they are, I think we live in a very stressful time, and people think that going to a spa or maybe combining it with sports or something, they use the spa facilities as well, because also when you do a sports holiday, you want some relaxation. And as I said, we live in a stressful time, and spas and saunas and massages are a very promising thing. Yeah, I think that's the most important types of tourism. Maybe I will come back to it in the trends as well. Drawbacks and benefits. I start with the drawbacks this time. I think that tourism, or depending on how we do it, but I think that there are a lot of people who are not very conscious tourists who want to have fun, which is what tourism is for, but sometimes also at the costs of the country that they are going to, be it in the all-inclusive holiday resorts. They, like if you go to, I don't know, Egypt, for example, it's a country that is naturally quite dry, but all the hotels have everything. They have fresh fruits, and you can shower 5 times a day, which local people can't. Even more so in places like Africa, of course, but that's maybe not so much a holiday resort thing. But yeah, one of the drawbacks is that the more fun we have on holiday, usually the worse it is for the people and for the environment. So I guess that's a major drawback. Also, people drive everywhere. They produce a lot of environmental pollution as well, which then in turn is bad for the country again. A major benefit of tourism, if we see it on a global scale, is again, like always, I think it is the money aspect in different, like it shows differently, of course. People have jobs, governments get money to make the lives of the locals better, so they can invest into public transport, streets, and so on and so forth that help the locals as well. So I guess it's a benefit of tourism. We get a lot of, like, not depending on where you stay in a country, but it will be of some benefit to the locals. They will get money, they will get taxes. So that's an advantage usually. There can also be there are also bad sides to the money point, of course, but that's I would have to talk for another 2 hours if I was elaborating on that. Future trends in tourism. One thing that I find very interesting that I did not mention in the first point is that people seem to get bored of traditional holidays, obviously. They are increasingly going to places that other people would say are dangerous, and the people who go there are kind of labeled crazy why they go there. It's called, nowadays it even has an own name, disaster tourism. So you go somewhere where something bad happened. I think the whole trend started with Hurricane Katrina, when suddenly all of the Americans decided to go and watch basically how people in New Orleans live. So I think that's a trend. Also, when you look at the programs of travel agencies, so the ones who do trips to South America, for example, you would get slum tours and all that kind of thing. So yeah, disaster tourism is a thing nowadays, I think.
Okay, so thank you for your monologue. We're gonna move on to the next task, which is about trends in tourism. Since you've mentioned a few trends, types, whatever we called it, we already know that there are different forms and types of tourism. But have you already heard about the trend or the type of tourism, which is called ecotourism?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on this type of tourism?
Of course. Well, yeah, ecotourism, the eco part stands for ecological, so I think that says a lot. I think many people would say that ecotourism is a counter movement to mass tourism. So mass tourist places usually also have the reputation that people don't behave very well and litter a lot and don't care about the place that they're going to. So ecotourism is the counter trend kind of thing. Ecotourists would try to be good tourists in as far that is possible. So on long distance destinations, you still have to fly, and flying is very bad for the environment. But once they are wherever they are, they use public transport instead of rent cars, for example. Try to get around by buses and trains and stuff. So trying to keep the environmental pollution to a minimum. They are also trying to learn about culture and appreciate the culture as well, not like typical mass tourists do, that they just go there and have fun and sometimes don't even get out of their all-inclusive resort. So an ecotourist would try to get to know the area, would also inform him or herself before what trends are and what you should not do, because it can be very offensive to locals if you totally disrespect their customs. Like, I guess it's hard to, depending on where you go, but in some countries you might still do something bad without knowing, but a good tourist would inform himself, herself about it, at least a little. So yeah, it's all about good tourism. There's also, I think I read that a couple of days ago that there is a big, Italy has massive problems with sunscreen because it leaves sort of a film in the water.
As in Hawaii, yeah.
And now they are, true. And now they are trying to, like, that is kind of a trend thing as well. Use sunscreen that is the I think there is some mineral stuff that you can put on, which is supposed to be better. So yeah. So that's all these kinds of movements out there. Be a good tourist, and so.
Are you a good tourist?
I'm trying to.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that I very much like traveling, and that the whole not flying thing is very hard.
Yeah.
Like getting to, like, the last long distance flight that I did was to Cuba. There is not many other ways to get there but
difficult
by flying. So yeah, I know that that's a bad thing, but once I'm there, I'm definitely trying to be a good tourist, and I would never like throw away garbage or anything. That's also something that I find very annoying when people do it here. So I would never do that, and I usually also try to inform myself about the country as much as I can, and makes it easier when I speak the language and can read up on stuff on the internet. And trying to. But as I said, I know that the flying thing is not. But
yeah, it's difficult.
It is.
But thank you for this interesting conversation.
Thank you
again. And now we're gonna have a look at this last exam of today. Introduction was skipped, so we're gonna have a look at task 1. There were a lot of things she talked about, actually, a lot of different types of tourism. There was, I only noted down a few of them: all-inclusive tourism, sports tourism, city trips, cruises, spas, and so on and so on. And she knew a lot of them and could, I think, go on for ages. The second bullet point here, which is concerned with the drawbacks and benefits, she elaborated mainly on the environmental aspect, which is of course not a benefit but a drawback, and the money and taxes, or the money basically, which is taxes, as a benefit, which is of course quite interesting, and it is, I think, easy to remember, easy to read up on, and read an article on it, and you kind of can gain some knowledge with the help of an article or something like this. Of course, it's a very important topic, all the taxes and environmental pollution. That's where you can combine other topics of your oral exam with the topic of traveling tourism. That's great. Future trends, I really like that point. The point of disaster tourism, which doesn't mean that I like disaster tourism, but she mentioned that a lot of people nowadays get bored of traditional forms of tourism, which I do agree with. People want to, I don't know, where they want to go, where they want to visit places where something disastrous happened, or where somebody hasn't been before, or where they can post a photo on social media that is very unique or something like this. So very interesting point. Disaster tourism will or can be the future, or one aspect of tourism in the future. The same goes with task 2, which was also quite productive and interesting to talk with, or to have this conversation. Ecotourism is a major aspect or branch that is getting bigger and bigger in tourism, and you should know about it. You should read about it, and think what you can add in terms of your own knowledge to this conversation. And be aware that flying is not the best thing to do, but yeah, try to reduce it as much as possible, and yeah, we're gonna save this planet, hopefully. That's about it from this exam today, from this stream today. If you have any questions, write it in the comments. Are there any questions? No. Don't have any questions? Okay. So that's basically it. See you, I think, next week, and good night in this case.